Hi, and welcome to Cover Brand, where we cover all things branding, marketing, and advertising to help you understand what the hell branding is and how it works to grow your business. Welcome back to Cover Brand. I'm Ethan Decker, and today I've got Sayre Blake with me. Sayre, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. It's a nice sunny day here in Colorado. Not that you know it from my office, but...
You can't tell. No, you are in an aquatic wonderland. It's not very Colorado, but it's beautiful. I need to get me some of those fish and or those screensavers. Either way, they look great behind you. A little bit of motion. It's lovely.
Yep. That's a lot of life.
Soothing. Yes.
Bring back 90s
Sayre,
screensavers, please.
Is that what it is? 90s screensavers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. They never went away. They're still there. You can dig them up, bring them back.
Well, you might have heard this phrase from William Gibson: "The future is here; it's just not evenly distributed." But it turns out there's a corollary to that, which is the past is also here, but it's just not just evenly distributed either.
It never left, and the good parts are still there for the people who go looking. Is what I find.
We have all the ages: the Stone Age, the Ice Age, the Bronze Age, the Industrial Age, the Agricultural Age. It's still all on the planet somewhere.
Yep.
Including 1990 screensavers.
Yeah. My personal favorite, but I might be a little biased as a 90s kid, so.
Nice. Well, let's get into music first. Let's cover some cover bands, and then we'll cover some brand things. So what song did you bring to the show?
All right, so my pick was the cover of I See Fire, which was an Ed Sheeran song, I think from the end of the second Hobbit movie, and covered specifically by Jasmine Thompson. I think it was on her cover album, Another Bundle of Tantrums. It takes what was sort of a pop song for the end of a big summer tentpole blockbuster, and kind of extracts, at least I think, sort of the sort of soul and emotion heart of it, and turns it into this just beautiful sort of folksy melodic, acoustic with a guitar. And I think it's just I think it's a wonderful song, and it's a wonderful cover, but I think it's such a good example of, like, even when we have to make big commercial stuff as artists, there's still always a little bit of that passion and that soul in there, and it might be buried under all of the producer's notes, but somebody can come along and extract it.
So she strips down the Ed Sheeran song, which I would assume Ed Sheeran's version is not hugely bombastic to begin with.
It's definitely it's the original intent plus, right? It's not like I have covers I love, like another one of is like oh my God, I Prevail does a hard metal cover of Blank Space by Taylor Swift. And that's the example of they just flip it on its head and it turns it into this dialogue with the original piece where it is, it extracts a different meaning by changing it. But this is one where it takes kind of like, I see, it takes that original soul of it and just dials it up to 11 and just makes it that much more soulful and meaningful and touching. And both as someone who grew up reading, because the lyrics are very connected to the story of The Hobbit, so as someone who grew up reading it, who had mixed feelings about those film adaptations, it definitely just brings me that, like, yes, this is what I felt as a kid reading it, and it is such a soulful, mournful story, and I think it's just a beautiful cover. She did an amazing job.
That's great. Well, first of all, I'm excited to hear the cover because she sounds like a great artist. I don't know Jasmine Thompson. So from at least my understanding, I'm definitely not a music expert, don't go by me, but my understanding she's definitely on the smaller side. I tend to gravitate towards a little more niche artists. There are plenty of big ones I listen to. I love Blackpink. Sure. And I listen to them all the time. But my joy is finding those, like, people who go, no, I do a certain thing a certain way, and I know there's a limit to the size of my audience, and I'm okay with that. And I really love that. Yeah. Great. And she has a whole album of covers, is what you're saying this is from. Yeah. Okay, so Jasmine Thompson, I See Fire, a cover of Ed Sheeran's song from the end of one of the Hobbit movies, which, by the way, I don't think I've had a song on Cover Brand that's from a movie like this. So that's good. It's a new I'm not surprised. Example.
It took me by surprise because you think of, it'll be the B-side of some pop artist doing something for commission.
Right.
And often that is the case, but I think she elevated it. The first time I heard it out somewhere, I'm like, what is that? It's so good. And then I paused and I'm like, is that the credit song from The Hobbit? What's going on?
Right. And credit songs are often a little cheesy, right? They're a little too on the nose, a little too well produced, a little too slick.
Yep.
Oh,
so I think
great.
she managed to turn it into something that's just incredibly genuine, which is surprising. Yeah, because you often associate with the producers going, it's not direct enough to the script. People aren't going to get the connection. And you're like, can I just have a little subtlety?
Right. We need that rousing emotion. We need to show people and tell people exactly how to feel and what to think. Exactly.
We need to convince people they enjoyed the movie by the song, regardless of how they actually felt.
Yes. Well, I'm sure we could do a whole entire episode of another podcast about Peter Jackson's movies. But that's not this show. So what we'll do is we will put I See Fire by Jasmine Thompson on the Cover Brand cover song playlist on Spotify to add to our amazing collection of cover songs we've covered. And then we'll be right back with more Sayre Blake right after these messages. Have you ever wished all this brand science was captured in a book somewhere? Well, you're in luck. Your wishes will be granted because the Little Book of Brand Science is about to launch. Go to appliedbrandscience.com and click book to get notified when it comes out. And we're back. Sayre Blake, I'm so excited to talk to you about you and your business. As far as I can tell already, you are an engineer. You do technical engineering, systems engineering. You focus on modern technologies like AR, VR, AI, games, and other things. You are definitely a child of the 90s. And a fellow theater geek as well. So I'm excited to talk about that. But I want to hear more about your business and your business challenge. So especially for the listeners, start with a little bit of the background of the business, and then we can get into the key challenge or challenges you're facing.
So I'll give you the quick rundown. So first off, I will say SkillSage is a modern take on training, specifically for soft skills. We've all been through this at one job or another of how to talk to your customers, how to do sales well, but also those other things of how to do conflict resolution. Usually it takes the form of, if we're lucky, a website where we watch a video and click a multiple choice question so HR can be like, look, we have compliance, and then we forget it all because we do it once a quarter. And if we're unlucky, it's a 3-ring binder somebody takes out, and you see their soul dying as they plop it on the table to get ready to read through it. And so we, looking at all that and looking at all these incredible technologies we have right now, and my background, like you said, is in systems engineering, but it's also in art. So this is sort of the heart of SkillSage is, if we're going to do that better, it needs to be human. It needs to be where we are and let us learn the way we learn by doing. And for conversation, that's hard. That's human connection. So it's going to take an artist to do it. And that's where my background of, I'm in systems engineering. I've worked in tech for 15 years. I have also worked as an artist for 15 years. So I studied engineering at CSU, but I also studied illustration with an eye towards concept art and production art at Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. Have kind of worked my whole career, very deliberately chosen sort of weird on the fringe jobs that have let me push both of those forward together. Because that, as a systems engineer first, is always my thing of, how do you make something that's more than the sum of its parts? How do you understand everything you have holistically and work to its strengths and avoid the weaknesses so that you're never just going, well, we just need more budget. We don't have budget. Oops, cut something.
Right.
And that's really what birthed SkillSage is, being able to take my background in games, my background in software as a service, Survey Gizmo, worked there for a long time, helped out as a Marcom artist, helped when they were shifting more towards their enterprise brand and what led into them now becoming Alchemar. I was on the team that was helping them figure out, okay, well, how do we translate this into motion graphics? How do we convert this fun, playful brand and keep its soul, but still speak to, enterprise customers who have different expectations? And so SkillSage takes all of that and brings us what we have, which also AI, it's in the name, Sage, spelled with AI, but it's a small piece, right? I'm a firm believer in there's no such thing as the final technology, because there's no such thing as one problem to solve, It will work well in some ways and it will work terribly in others. And so while we do leverage AI, we have set out really, and this is coming again personally as an artist, I'm not interested in replacing artists. I think most managers don't even really understand why they're important. And so it's an even step further of like, AI is one of the worst concept artists I've ever worked with as an art director. It's not about to replace any of them.
No, indeed. For those who are afraid of some of AI taking things over, you look at what it's doing, you're like, it's not going to take that over yet.
No,
sure.
or possibly ever, because then it's that like, it might convince a middle manager for a while it's doing a good job, but it's not going to hold up in a production environment long term. At the time they realize it's going to have done. Yeah, so I
so
to the
SkillSage,
artists, we don't. We try and stay away from that.
So I love that you're taking an artist's view and perspective on something like soft skills training, because you're right. There's some great things about the 90s, but 3-ring binders is not one of them. And having a soft skills training program, platform, API, SaaS, binder, whatever, that's stuck in the 90s is indeed soul sucking, as opposed to soul coughing. So you're including AI in SkillSage, which is indeed spelled with SAIGE, not just SkillSage, SAGE. So that's, and by the way, just for those of you who want to look up while we're talking, it's SkillSaige.com, skillsage.com. So you can see what the heck Sayre's talking about.
Yeah, and our trainer, her name is Sage. Our virtual trainer is Sage, spelled SAIGE. Because again, child of the 90s, all my classmates had funny name spellings. Everyone thought that's what mine was. I'm like, no, it's just Welsh.
I know. Well, and that's a funny thing in America, at least in the United States. I remember an era, because I'm a child of the 80s, and in the 80s and earlier, especially the 80s, white names were still very normal, and it was black names that were very interesting. LaShonda, Chatikwa, Darnell, Latesha, and Aquanet was one of them I heard. But now white names are all just as weird and crazy. Like all the names, everyone can do whatever.
Vowels, really?
I know.
This opens up so much possibility.
And then there's Oakley and Bringston and Buxley and Giston and all the names. So anyway, let's get to your business. And what are what's the thing that you feel like you're rubbing up against that's a challenge right now?
Yeah, so I think there's two sides to it, right? And one is, and maybe this is a little bit my nostalgia talking as the child of the 90s, but one thing I really loved in the 90s was we had this beautiful confluence of an expansion of creative possibilities with the rise of digital creation tools and distribution methods. But we hadn't quite ironed out what professional meant there. And so it left this broader space. I think a natural result was people tended towards sort of very strongly defined brands as identity to find their niche customer, right? It was sort of around the early days of like, well, actually we can just have 4 people building a thing and sell it to enough people to pay for all our needs and get salespeople to do it. Awesome, let's just do that. Let's go find the tiny subset market who will love our crazy puke green and neon, orange triangle combo brand with the giant ovals everywhere. And that worked really well because it allowed...
The Knots really loved the ovals.
They loved them. And they tried to hang on to them for so long as we moved into the modern corporate. Ovals. They were just like, but can we keep them? Can we keep the swishiness? Can we keep... Nope. All right, it's going away. But so there was that side of it where it really allowed for this sort of blossoming of, let's speak to a specific customer and a specific customer's problem and what they need, right? The other side, and so that is kind of our thing is, now we're well past that. And there are certain expectations of, well, these things represent trust. And often what it means is, well, these very expensive things that require a lot of designers to work on at a very granular level that is pretty much only picked up subconsciously by most consumers, but is picked up. If you don't have that, you are not seen as trustworthy when selling to a business, when selling to a larger customer. So you have to establish that. At the same time, those things tend to feel very bland because they are designed through decades of how do we sell to truly everyone and look appealing-ish to everyone, but not upset anyone. And that...
You mean look beige. Look professional.
Beige, white, with a hint of blue if we're feeling spicy. Everyone has the same rounded shapes. We lay things out in the same way because We don't want to be different.
You follow best practices. And best practices are literally what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. And sometimes they are genuine best practices for things like accessibility, and sometimes it just means safe, and it's not going to upset anyone. And so finding a space to go, well, no, this does have soul. This does have people who care, We lean towards I've always leaned towards smaller team structures. I don't view scale for scale's sake in terms of your team is the answer. I think it's grow when you need to and get true experts and empower them.
Okay.
But
so where's the rub? Where's the rub? What's the challenge right now you're hitting with SkillSage?
So how do you bring playfulness in and show that this is something different, but also look like everybody else so everybody feels it's competent?
Yes.
Where's the middle ground?
There you go. That's the rub. You've nailed it.
Yeah.
This is such a common issue, such a huge issue.
Oh, everyone,
and you see it so many times with little brands that start really cute, and then they get blander and blander and more corporate and more beige, right?
And it's extra
the blandification.
Because you start out with the people who go, we want different, we want better, we want people to speak to us. And you go, okay, here's that thing. Oh, that's really different. I don't think I could trust that. Okay, what do we do? What do you actually want?
It's true. Yeah. It's true. A couple of great examples like that. One of them is a brand that still isn't, well, this isn't SaaS, but you've heard of Poppy, the probiotic soda. Everyone kind of knows it.
My kids buy them by the bucketful at Costco.
It's very popular. They started, I think, as a brand called Mother's Milk, if I'm not mistaken. And it had a lot of character, a lot of personality, and it's gotten a little smoother and softer around the edges. And of course, now that I think they sold to PepsiCo.
Yeah, of course they did.
But let me double check that. But of course, then more of the corners are going to get rounded off. I think Poppy was acquired by Pepsi in 2025. So, and in some respects, that's exactly what they wanted, right? They wanted to create a brand that they could have a great big exit and sell it, and good on them, the founders of Poppy.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you get taught in business school these days.
That's what some people want to do. Others, and as you said, if you don't want scale, if you don't want to have a big exit, you want a business that you can sustain.
Yep.
Another example that's a little bit more in the zone of maybe what you're doing is MailChimp.
Yes. Yeah.
Ben Chestnut started that. He has a great episode of How I Built This, the podcast, about creating MailChimp and how it was just a side hustle. And then he realized, wait a minute, email is recurring revenue. Building a website happens once every 3 years for a company, or at best. But MailChimp has also gotten a little more bland and more stiff and more corporate, certainly as Intuit bought them, and they brought them into the Intuit family. And do you remember, early on in the days of MailChimp, they were a sponsor early on in the days of podcasting. They sponsored Serial, that real true crime podcast that blew up and was an NPR New York Times darling, about whether this guy really killed his girlfriend or not. And it was true crime, and it was really beautifully produced. And MailChimp got in on the ground floor as a sponsor and didn't know they'd sponsor the number one podcast of the entire year, if not 3 years. And they did a thing in it where they had people say the name MailChimp. And one of the kids or one of the people on the street they were interviewing messed it up and said, Mail Kemp? And they kept it in.
Yeah.
Because it was cute. It was endearing. It was human. It was not well-rounded and professional and polished. And they were like, yeah, that's cute. Leave it in. Or the production company's like, this is funny. Leave in the funny. Don't take out the funny. So those are a couple of examples, Poppy, MailChimp, where things do get more corporate and more stiff. And I think first of all, the challenge is real. The rub is real between how do you have personality and stand out versus how do you adhere to the expectations of the category and fit in. I call that the brand category paradox. And that applies to whether you're making power drills or whether you are a SaaS corporate skills company, or whether you make coffee. How do you fit in as a coffee company so that people know you sell coffee and not I don't know, mushroom adaptogenics or hot chocolate, but also how do you stand out as a coffee company so people see you as different from Starbucks and or Dunkin' or whomever.
I'll admit half the time I try new coffee because I'm like, I like that packaging. I'm gonna pick that up. Yeah. Let's see what they were just a little bit bold, and let's see what they've got.
Yes. Yep. And then relatedly, I think that it's important to think about fitting in and standing out on two levels. And this is a thing I call Big B brand and Little B brand. Ooh, Big B brand is like your offering, your business, your reputation. You know, what is MailChimp? MailChimp is a B2B SaaS, enormous global email software company that probably does a lot more now. And then the Little B brand for MailChimp is the chimpanzee logo, the yellow color. I'm sure there's a Pantone color and a hex color that goes with it. The font that MailChimp is written in, the tone of voice that they do their social media in, you know. So there's Big B, which is everything, and then there's Little B, which is your logo, fonts, colors. Yeah. Depending upon whom you speak with, some people think brand is all Big B and just it's all the story you tell. Yeah. And others only care about the Pantone color and the logo. Yeah. And I believe that most brands really need both. You need 100%. To focus on your reputation, but equally you need a really easy, simple, visual, color, et cetera, that can be the thing to help you stand out. It doesn't have to be your unique offering, unique selling proposition, unique positioning. So in that regard, standing out and fitting in is sometimes a superficial, seemingly superficial thing, which is actually a symbolic thing, the color, the logo. I work a lot with large CPG companies, and you'd be amazed how often people confuse what brand they buy.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, then again, you probably aren't amazed. And it's probably the same, thankfully, with a lot of SaaS. Like, I think we looked into Salesforce, or was it Sales Planet? I forget. I think we looked into it. What was it? It was on the Gartner Quadrant.
I've worked as a consultant and as a contractor, and like the number of things where a client goes, it's this, I've built VR training environments for big companies, and they go, right. Our fleet of trucks we want represented in this or this car. And so I put that car, and they go, that's not the car. And I'm like, that was the exact make and model you told me to put in. They're like, it's this other one.
Right. It's not a Ford. It's a Chevy. It's not a Chevy. It's a GMC.
Yep.
It's amazing how often as marketers we think, especially B2B people, have lots of knowledge and really give a lot of thought to the companies and brands that they hire because they're more expensive. But just because they're more expensive doesn't mean people want to think about them anymore.
I mean,
they don't want to know whether their eggs are free range or cage free. Yeah. And on the other hand, they don't really want to know if their SaaS company is run by women, sadly, or whether it's headquartered in Cupertino or Boston. They just want to know it works.
They just want to know it works, and they can go on even, and this comes down even to like pricing as part of your brand, where there's barely people go, it's all too expensive, we want it cheaper. You go, all right, cool. Well, actually, this one thing you need, if you only want that, our infrastructure is so flexible, we could give it to you at some big discount. Yes. And they go, really? I'm not buying that anymore. It's not legitimate. And I'm like,
so
fine, totally. I'll charge you triple. That's fine. Does that make you feel better?
Right. So when it comes to this brand category paradox that you're struggling with how do you stand out and how do you fit in? How much personality can you have?
Yeah.
In essence, that's also related to the life cycle usually of the company. Because just as we talked about with Poppy, with MailChimp, I'll bet even Liquid Death is going to have the corners rounded off its company as it becomes bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Right now, its loyalty program is you sell your soul to the company. That's how you join the loyalty program. You have to sign a document that says you're selling your soul to them. So you're right. There is a very evolutionary and huge and sensible evolution of a company from small and daring and risky and exciting to large and stiff and corporate and rounded off, because you've got thousands and thousands of jobs at stake, hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. Yep. You're exposed to much more risk. When someone sues a little mom and pop coffee shop, the worst that could happen is they close the shop and have to find a new job. When someone sues Kellogg Corporation or Starbucks, let's stay in coffee, that's hundreds of millions of dollars and hundreds of lawyers, and so the stakes do get bigger, which is why companies are appropriately, they get stiffer and stiffer.
There are scales at which you have to do that. You just have to. It's irresponsible to do otherwise, I think. And I mean, there is a bigger discussion there, too, of like, well, we've seen the consolidation of like, oh, we don't have multiple brands and products. We just have our one mega thing, and everyone should just buy it. And I get it from a pipeline standpoint, from a process. But I do think we've lost a little bit of that. Like, hey, there is value in having different things for different customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fit under a bigger tent pole.
And it's also why Coca-Cola can't even sell Coca-Cola branded sparkling water. It would be confusing. It would just be a pain in the ass for the shopper. Wait, which Coke did I get? I thought I was getting Coke Zero, but I got Coke Sparkling Water?
Oh, so there was a big old board in a meeting room at some point of Coke 2.0. This is our big play. And all the people going, can we do this? Will people be confused? Get the focus groups in here. No, we can't.
Oh, for sure.
We can't do this.
So then here's a thought for you for SkillSage, which is, first of all, I strongly encourage you to have as much personality as possible every step of the way.
Yep.
So don't let the corners get rounded off for as long as possible.
Yep.
And you see some companies actually get sharper again at some point in their age when they get the right leadership. Like KFC has gotten sharper again. Dunkin' has gotten sharper. Salesforce actually always was kind of brash. Mark Benioff loved being brash. But then they've got this whole coterie of cute animals that are their mascots. And people would say there's no place for silly, cute, fuzzy mascots in a $15 billion SaaS company. But it's really working for them. And they have the data to prove it. Yeah. Or Aflac. Well, Aflac. We're all so used to silly mascots for insurance that we don't remember that. Let's go back to the 90s.
Right.
Back when Soul Coughing was still coughing, and we were all watching Rent. Then, back then, insurance was serious, was somber, was sober. Insurance was about death, dismemberment, fires, floods, accidents, because it truly is.
Some of those commercials were borderline trauma-inducing as a kid.
Oh, they were. I know. You can see. They're scary because the topic is scary. So the branding was relevant. Yep. It was relevant to the category, and it was serious. And Aflac, I think, was the one that really broke the mold. It might have been Geico, but they came out about the same era, where suddenly they said, we can be silly, irreverent, and goofy, because the number one thing is people don't remember what your freaking brand was.
Yeah.
So those companies have remained, I'd say, silly and goofy, and have kept character and personality in their DNA because they see it works.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I would say, first of all, keep your character and personality as long as possible through your evolution of the company. Okay? Yep. You will make some people bristle, but as long as you're not really exposing people to true risk, financial or legal risk, make them bristle.
Make them bristle. And the other thing I always point out to people, too, especially in the tech space, I think we're always so over-afraid of that because, we need every customer we can get. And I'm like, we have no barriers for distribution anymore as software companies.
Correct.
Why? We can achieve unfathomable scales even if half of our possible customer base actually hates us.
Yes.
Why are be bold? That's our thing. If we lean into it, we have a straight up. She has character. She is stylized. Our trainer is stylized. And that's part of. I think we get to cheat a little bit because I think we actually have to have a little more style to our brand and a little playfulness.
You should have more style.
And I'm always pushing for more because it's like no. Our whole point is. The old training solutions were barely holding on as it is, and they are falling on their face as Gen Z enters the workforce. So hand them a video game. Hand them a well-made video game with polish and style, and you actually get to. Sage is not a chatbot. She has objectives and goals. She will get pissed off at you if you say you try. You can swear at her, and she'll be like, I'll let you know about that interview, and like do that, like sure, and give you a side eye, and like, and it's the type of stuff where I've been in those corporate meetings where I've built VR training solutions for big companies like Richemont, and every executive is like, this is even just the fact that it's 3D. I'm not sure how to feel about this, and this feels scary. No.
So,
I'm like,
so here's what I'd recommend. This is a great point you bring up as well. You're bringing up a great point of the difference between the user and the buyer.
Yes,
for large SaaS, for corporate training, the kind of things SkillSage does, you've got two audiences. One is the users who are getting trained, who might be younger folks, who might be with tattoos and dyed hair and piercings, and know the lingo, know what 6 7 is. I know. And then you've got the buyers who might still be boomers or Xers who have fewer to no tattoos, who are more corporately conservative, who are more fiscally conservative. And so for them, you do want to have the right clothes for the meeting.
Exactly.
You know, like in B2B, I've worked with a lot of folks who, let's say they're in construction and manufacturing. They absolutely dress differently when they're talking to their bankers than when they're talking to the dudes on the shop floor.
Absolutely.
Like when you go to the bankers, you dress up and with a suit and whatever. And when you go to the shop floor, you wear your jeans and you wear your heavy-duty shitty boots that are covered in mud. You don't go with fancy Manolo Blahniks or high heels or Ferragamos to the shop floor.
Yep.
So I would recommend, along with A, keeping as much character as possible in your brand for as long as possible, and B, standing out as much as you can, even symbolically and visually, because the number one challenge is people don't remember SkillSage or notice SkillSage.
Always. Well, the number two challenge is we've built a teleporter and we're taking it to the bicycle convention, and they go, no, you didn't.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that on another episode. We'll deal with that on another episode.
Yeah.
But then this third thing is have a different set of clothes for when you're talking to the suits who pay for it.
Always. Well, and we do that even right now. You know, you go over to one of our big things has always been from minute one. This has to be available for individuals because there has never been this continuity between training and knowledge learning. Between I do it at work and I can do it when I need it in my career individually, and software allows for that. But when you are on the individual site, when you're in that space, it's slick, it's dark themed, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's a video game. When you're on the corporate side, when you're in the dashboard, it's friendly for that space. You know, rage about the limits of that in meetings all you want, but then meet them where they are.
You understand people, you're an artist, you know about connecting with your audience. So in this case, it's just about, as you've already done with the tool itself, you've listened to that audience, which is the users, and built something for them. It's the same with your prospects. Just listen to your prospects and build a thing for them. And if it's more about risk mitigation, if it's more about we are buttoned up, if it's more about efficacy and proof, then you build the suit, the apparel that works for those meetings.
100%. And you gotta, I think one of the things I always find with that too is be flexible with it. I'm really big on that always of, just because you haven't considered, we have this type of documentation or this process. The other thing is to keep in mind, often if you have good process, coming back to the systems engineering, if you've sat down and you've built your product with your customer in mind, you've had that empathy for who each aspect of your customer is, and you've built with them, you've documented that. You know, one of the things, like the difference between, this customer, needs this type of accessibility compliance documentation. You go, we've never done that before. Oh my God. Or do you go, well, hang on, let me dig in. Actually, that's exactly what we did, just in different words. Let me just do that translation for them, and then we add it as we have another arrow in the quiver, because they're not the only one. And you can move along with them, and that maybe it's in the design space, maybe it's in technical rollout requirements. It's always
and depending upon depending upon your, I kind of hate this phrase now, but I used it all the time. The path to purchase for your buyer. Yeah. Whatever that path is, if it's from the corporate world and it's from their peers and it's from corporate training stuff, then you want to keep things tailored to them and their expectations. Whereas
100%.
if you're really talking to the users, and that's where it's a video game and it's interactive and it looks and sounds like them, and your AI trainer Sage has a lot of chutzpah and character and shit talks them a little bit, you can hide those things from the buyers. They don't have to get scared by that. So here I am telling you to have as much personality as possible, but in your case, keep that personality in the execution of the tool.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. And look what MailChimp at this point, the real character of the whole thing is literally just their logo.
Not
it's
to
just
shit
the
talk
logo.
them, but like I was always a little sad with Survey Gizmo when they went through their corporatization and they became Alchemer, and they torched everything about their original unique identity in the process. Like, and I was there. I actually was the lead on, because they were originally cute little illustrated robots, and it was the whole thing with survey software that makes you smile, and it worked really well. They entered this very closed, bought-up playing space, and they, established a sizable chunk for themselves off the back of that. And I remember for the first 5 years, I think, they were working off of like a tiny batch of that robot clip art. They commissioned an illustrator to do when they started up. And then I came in and was like, oh my God, guys, you have oh no, hang on. And I built them, I helped build out directed a team to build out a massive art library to extend that. And then they went through that brand revision, a few years later, and they're really, I think, I'd be curious to know, like, how did that affect them to really just lose that wholesale? Because I think that did have a lot of emotional attachment for the customers who were attracted to them because of that. And it could have stuck around as, maybe it just becomes a logo or just the robot head as the logo. So, like, why? No. How about we just figure out how to make it cross-compatible? Like, people are more adaptable than they realize, but only if you hold their hand along the way. And I think that goes from the stuffiest suits in the boardrooms down to the edgiest artists. And if you just meet them where they're at, go, how do you communicate? Okay, let me figure out how to translate what I'm saying into your language.
And give them, and give them what they want plus 3%, plus 5%.
Plus 3, exactly. Be
very few people want something totally different and weird and crazy. Very few people even want plus 30%. They like to think they do, but then when push comes to shove, they want plus 3%.
Most people will say they really want that, and then you give them 3%, and they go, whoa, this was almost too much, but I'm glad you gave me that 30%. And you're like,
there's
got you.
An industrial designer from long ago, Raymond Loewy, and he had a concept, the most advanced yet acceptable.
I love that.
And he designed things like new diesel trains and logos and all kinds of industrial stuff too, cars. And he said, it's got to be advanced, but just barely advanced. Mostly it's got to be acceptable.
Advanced-ish.
Yes, advanced-ish. So I think that's where, if you're pushing out things to your prospects and the people who will buy SkillSage, it's going to be what they expect from corporate training plus 3%. And then under the hood, when you're doing your actual programming and development for the folks who you need to engage with, then you tailor it to them and their needs.
Exactly. So, and I think that's, again, we get to cheat a little bit in the SaaS space because the people who pay for the software licenses aren't the ones who ever actually use them. So
very rarely, if ever.
Yeah. We get to show up and be like, don't worry, you're going to actually like what we built for you. It isn't just built to appeal to the people making the decision. Everybody goes, oh, thank you.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to listen to Jasmine Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to hear how you continue to navigate the brand category paradox.
It's been
I'm
fun
excited
journey.
to see the evolution of SkillSage.com, and that's SkillSaige.com, for how it balances out being different but also being expected. Right?
It's an ongoing journey.
And then next time we chat, we can talk about any other things that are on your mind.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, always more to talk about. So this has been lovely.
All right. Thank you so much. Good talking with you, Sayre.
Thanks so much, Ethan. Appreciate it.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to learn more about brand science, head on over to appliedbrandscience.com. Also, if you got something out of this episode, think of one person who might also get something out of it and send it to them as a way of saying, hey, thinking of you.